Hello, everybody. My name's True Demon, and I'm the Devil Stockbroker. Thank you all so much for joining us. Today, we have something very exciting to talk about because there couldn't be anything bigger than the outcome of BBIG in its current court case. We've been anxiously awaiting, but more than anything, I think we're very interested to see what the future of Vinco Ventures is with its new relationship with Zash Global Media. And here I have with us today the CEO of Zash Global Media, Mr. Erik Finman. Erik, thanks for joining us today. We're really glad to have you. How are you doing?
Hey, doing well. Glad to be on.
Absolutely, man. So, I know that most people probably know you as the youngest Bitcoin millionaire, but I'd love to hear your own introduction for everybody who's watching in YouTube and here in the Discord. So, why don't you kindly introduce yourselves for all of us? Tell us all about yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you. So yes, my claim to fame is I was the youngest person ever to become a Bitcoin millionaire. Got in pretty early and just spent every day from them trading and getting into other cryptocurrencies, and then and eventually becoming a retail investor. I remember meeting some of the founders of Robinhood actually at their first office out in Palo Alto, when they had raised some money. So that was interesting, and started multiple companies, sold multiple companies, and did some projects just for fun. I applied and won a NASA contract to launch a satellite, which was pretty incredible, and that was just a for fun project. And I built out some cool robotics prototypes. Not that many people might care in this chat, but personally fun and some things that I'm personally proud of. And yeah, I started my first company at 15, sold that company for quite a lot of money at 17, and then worked out of a VC fund for a while in London. There was some good coverage from that. I was actually invited to 10 Downing Street after a few articles came out of there, which is like the British White House. And yeah, I've invested also in a couple company, actually more than a couple companies. I've invested in private companies as a seed and Series A investor. Companies like MetalPay, if you've heard of that. These are particularly crypto companies. MetalPay, which is an incredible, very successful company. Another one called Coinbits. They were doing literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in transaction volume before I invested, and I helped them kind of bump up their numbers a bit, and kind of came in as an investor, and they tens of millions of dollars in a very short period of time after that, in overall kind of volume going through the pipes of their company. So, and on top of that, and I could go on a spend a whole call just talking about portfolio companies that I'm invested in and have equity in. But yeah, that's a bit about my background. Big crypto fan. Been trading and literally since I was 12 years old. Um, and uh, and obviously, I got in. There's an interview that some people brought up of me talking about, how I was when I first became an ape, getting into GME and AMC back in the day, and how that completely, honestly, the corruption of Robinhood on that front when that all happened, and the people that were providing their books. So that's a bit about my background. I could spend a lot of time on it, but I'm here to talk about Zash.
Yeah, yeah, understandable. I was surprised to hear you mention specifically that you've been following closely the whole fiasco with Robinhood and the GME and AMC saga.
How could you
Um,
not?
it's a hell of a story. The biggest thing that I think that we're all here for, that most of the you know aside from the Zash commentary, of course, but waiting to see whether the little guy is going to actually beat the Goliath that's been
Hmm.
kind of keeping their foot on our necks for a long time. So, as it relates to Zash, what is Zash the company to you? I mean, you've been in crypto and all kinds of venture capital, uh, you know, companies that you've been working with for most of your business career. So, what is Zash to you? Is this just another project where you brought in just to kind of assist it along based on your experience with crypto and social media, or is this something that you're going to be a part of for the long term, like is like your main project for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, I see this as, I see this as totally and absolutely the main project that I mean, Zash and its affiliated companies, it's a lot of work. I don't know if I would have the time to do anything else. I am very politically active. I just started a $20 million super PAC in regards to politics and trying to make people care about technology and innovation, and that kind of more focusing on the future rather than the culture wars of the moment. Although culture is an important battle to fight over. But at least with my PAC, that's kind of the only other thing that I'm working on, except besides Zash, which is, I guess, political activism.
Is
And
that
and I think and I
is
think what I mean, it's on that front. I mean, it's all kind of married in one sense, because TikTok is I think inevitably going to get banned here in the U.S. And I live, I've said this before. I live in Washington D.C., and that's literally that is the word on the street. That is the rumor. It feels inevitable.
wow. So what's the goal of the pack? You said it relates to advancing technology and furthering politics and technology, but is there something specific, like a specific mission or goal that hopes to achieve?
Yeah, so we have a website called, and again, I want to talk about Zash, and people be mad if I'm not talking about Zash every single second of this interview. But since
Well,
you
it all
asked,
it all ties together because I mean
it all
it's
ties
all
together, my
related.
friend. And so yeah, so I mean, yeah, we're doing this kind of midterms tour where we're going around the entire country and kind of picking a candidate that we like, giving them our support, and also throwing a big event for them. On top of that, bringing between three events, we already have 50,000 RSVPs between three events, which is crazy. And it's completely free. I've just been paying for everything so far, and personally, and going in and making people that, hey, do you care about values of free speech and technology and future, and about going to Mars, and because I moved to Silicon Valley back in 2014, and that was kind of, I feel like, the last year, at least from what I've heard from mentors, that Silicon Valley was kind of the the place for free expression and free thought, all about building towards the future. And I feel like Silicon Valley has lost that spirit, and it has gotten too political, but in a bad way. And kind of my goal is to restore that spirit of Silicon Valley, and back and fund candidates that care about the spirit of Silicon Valley. I mean, this is why these social media platforms, for as one example, they spend a lot of time figuring out how to censor people, but not a lot of time on improving their product. And that's why you get things like TikTok, which owned by the Chinese Communist Party, and
Yeah.
and they put they, rather than spending their time banning people as much, and I think, and they still ban people, of course. They focus on advancing their app, and it was originally called Musically, right? And building on top of their app, making it better, making it have the most amazing algorithm ever. And that's tough. And American social media companies are worse for it, for them basically stopping to innovate. And I think that's why I'm so excited about Lemotive, and I've talked to their team a lot now. And you saw, and I won't take it, it was kind of in process before I got here, but I pushed it quite a lot, is getting the Lemotive web version out. So that way it can be pushed, and pushed by just a link and not having just to download an app. So I mean, I think that's part of the goals. Obviously, I'm not the CEO of Lemotive, but I do have some influence there. And but actually being able to change the social media game, not focus entirely on censoring people. Obviously, you don't want it where literally every single horrible every single thing in the world can happen on this. But kind of that balance of caring about free expression, but also building something that people want and it's better, and being ready and waiting for when TikTok gets banned.
Yeah, and that's actually personally important to me, being that my career is entirely devoted to infosec before I started doing this, and I even still work a full-time job doing that while
Yes, I
I'm
believe I saw
learning.
your kind of write up on that, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was mostly thanks to research that was done ahead of me, like before I had even really dove into the whole BBIG thing. But years, going back years, TikTok is known by the InfoSec community to be a really dangerous application, just based on all of the research done by reverse engineers that took the app apart and analyzed all of its functions. And like it does things that no legitimate application on any platform should ever be able to do, like downloading compressed folders and then executing a binary directly into memory. That's the types of stuff that I do in my work as a penetration tester. Like that's how I install malware without getting noticed. So there's no legitimate reason for that type of functionality to exist in an app like that. It's just that by itself is like it raises 200 red flags, you know.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Yeah. So I'll bring this back to Zash. So well, I guess one of the burning questions that we should talk about is how is the mood between the Zash and Vinco Ventures team? Because I know that with this ongoing court case, there's obviously got to be some tension. But since the decision was made in the courts that there would be a three-person co-CEO ship between Lisa and Mr. Colucci, and I can't remember the third party's name, but how is the how is the mood between those three CEOs, and do you feel like they are going to be able to work together through this? Because obviously they have a relationship with Zash and Vinco, so this is kind of pertinent for the future of Zash and not just BBIG.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's I haven't gotten it. Ross Miller is the third co-CEO appointed by the court. His name, and I have not had the chance to talk to him yet. But just his background, I have absolutely tremendous respect for him. I think he's an incredibly impressive person. And I mean, I was actually very happy. Obviously I follow this case for obvious reasons. I was very happy to see a guy like that appointed co-CEO. So I think that'll be interesting. And Lisa, I know, and I personally have a good relationship with, a very good relationship with. And John, John Colucci, I think you can look at the court case, and kind of make your own opinions up about him. But yeah, I mean, I think that this court case has been the I mean, to me, when I joined on, this merger was imminent, from my perspective, from what I saw, and this kind of slowed things down. And I understand that people have been kind of waiting for a while on that front, but basically when this gets wrapped up, merger will happen, kind of, and hopefully sooner than that, actually, but I think this has slowed down merger stuff, and I think people in the community could tell. But as soon as this is wrapped up, if not sooner, it's going to be pretty imminent. An imminent merger would happen.
That's very encouraging to hear, and answers another one of my questions, because of course this was going to have to be asked, but everybody in the chat, I can see Win Merger being is just screaming across my my chat flow. So an imminent merger sounds fantastic to everybody who's been waiting all of this time. Imminent being within 90 days is what I interpret to be as imminent.
Yeah, I mean, could be sooner, could be later than that. But but I think this court stuff will be wrapped up in about and again, don't hold me to this, but I would think no more than 60 days. That's my personal opinion. And I'm obviously not like in this case. Like I'm not named in it.
No, no, of
I'm not
course.
there in the courtroom, but so I guess when my I'm just kind of speaking from you, I guess, as someone looking at the case from just looking at the PACE report, and obviously I check in and I ask, and I go in, how could I not, right? But I guess my personal opinion, I don't see this going on for much longer, but it's still, I wish it'd be over today, but it's not. But I don't see it going on for much longer.
That's very good. It's been a massive holdup for everybody, and I know that everyone's really anxious to see the merger continue. Um, so that's very good to hear. I'm sure that everybody will find some relief in that. So
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
so ordinarily, I wanted to ask. Ordinarily, the CEO's priority when onboarding is to really get familiar with their business that they're assuming executive control of.
Mhm.
And I imagine there was some difficult spin up time for you. But what I found really interesting about you is that you made the first action that you took as a CEO of Zash immediately after being named was to start interacting with the retail trading community. And I have to ask, what made you decide that? Why did you just suddenly jump into Twitter to talk to the rest of us rather than just devoting 100% of focus to getting familiar with the business after being named?
Yeah, I mean, I did. I think I didn't really think about it. All these people were tweeting at me, and I know, in my engagements, as a retail investor of a lot of different stocks, I just like you look at the AMC CEO, Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, right? I mean, that's kind of what you do. So I feel like I've just grown up in a world of direct engagement and having a direct line to people, and then million it felt like a billion people were tweeting at me, and then and then some of those tweets were complaining that there wasn't enough communication. And then so I was like, oh, I can fix that. I don't think anyone else, knew I was going to do that. And I didn't know I was going to do it till, that happened, right? It just kind of was an instinctive mood. And then, and it was nice, Eric Noble, he followed kind of my lead and started tweeting and being more, there's ever heard the term the 4 minute mile, right? Like it's just it took so long for someone to break a 4 minute mile, and then once it was broken by someone, a bunch of people started breaking it because of that mental block. So I mean, that's Eric Noble started doing it. Sam Saloni, she was on Twitter, but she started tweeting more, and she's someone that works at Zash. And again, I'm still working on getting Lisa and Ted. Ted has a Twitter account, so he's not actively tweeting, but Ted has a Twitter account, and he started, I think, looking at that more after I kind of went out and did that. And again, I think the suits were a little mad and frustrated at me, but I was like, screw them in some ways, very typical.
I was gonna ask you, like, they had to have tried to talk you out of even talking to me right here. So did that conversation happen between you and the lawyers? Were they like, you cannot go and talk to this guy, like this
Uh,
random devil worshiper on YouTube? Like, why would you talk to this guy?
not with you personally, but yeah, there was a lot of talk, and not just too. There was also journalist allies of ours that said, "Hey," so the journalists called us up and said, "Hey, we'll give you an exclusive if you don't do this Twitter space." So we got that, and then if you don't, and if you do this, we won't ever, post about you or post about you positively ever again if you do this Twitter space.
They
And we'll give
really
you a
said
very
that.
nice, and we'll give you, yeah, that's exactly what they said. And I'm not over exaggerating at all. And I just said, I was like, I just was like, I don't know what you're talking, like, I said, I'm doing the Twitter space. This was a couple hours before it was going to happen. So I said, well, too late now.
Wow.
and one I wouldn't have, but too late, So I mean that's interesting. So it's not just the lawyers who are very nice, and I appreciate them, and they're doing their best, and that's where that kind of that push and pull where I want to say everything, and then they were smart and say, hey, well, there are rules and laws in place, and you got to follow them. That little push and pull, I think, creates a not too bad outcome. But yeah, I mean, journalists called us, but you could see in that Twitter space call there was a lot of journalists that were on there. Some of the journalists that, or what it was one publication, so that publication was on that Twitter space that that said that we're not going to write about you and in any positive way if you do this. So
Wow.
whatever.
That's quite a bold threat and a heck of a statement for a mainstream media journal to be posting about. Um, that's like the most hardball stance I think I've ever heard of. Um,
It's true. So I mean, it's not, that's, a lot of press and journalism is like camel trading. So, hey, do this, so journalism is about camel trading. So I think that's why I think they're offended. And I don't think and I think they thought it would work. So I just don't like it when, if people are willing to work with me, I could say, hey, how about I give you an exclusive today? Maybe move the Twitter space 24 hours. But you got good breathing room if you're able to, like, I'd be able to coordinate, but it's just kind of when it's said in the context of, or else, it's kind of like, I'm new here. I don't have any problems with you. Seems like you have a problem with me. I don't care. I'm going to do this Twitter space and speak directly to the community.
Man, I really appreciate that. It's it seems to be a theme of the business world that all of the big all the big seats at the table are occupied by incumbents. Everybody knows each other on the street. Everybody knows who they're working with, and you have to shake all the right hands in order to get by. So I really got to say, just personally from me to you, I really appreciate that stand up attitude that you won't be bullied like that and just take that sitting down. It's a really admirable thing.
Well, I was always taught, someone, someone punches you, punch them 10 times harder. I don't know if I'm punching 10 times harder, but it's just kind of go forward and go do what you think is right. So, I mean, I don't mean to, kind of toot my own horn on that front at all. It's just I
No,
was going
it's
to do this,
I,
and I would have been willing to delay it a day, but it was just kind of that, you know, people are offended when you go right to the community, right? And that's why there is so much censorship on all these social media publications, because or on these social media sites, because a lot of these publications won't make it if you had true direct line from business person, politician to their you know and investors, customers, voters. They wouldn't, a lot of these people wouldn't make it, and the best would survive, but a lot of them wouldn't make it. And that's why people don't like social media, and I think that's why this group didn't want me to do the Twitter space, because it shows, hey, I can communicate with people. I want to, I'd love to do both, but I want to have a direct line to people.
you know what, the entire community absolutely appreciates that, and I think that you'll find, as evidenced by what happened with GameStop and and AMC and even BBIG to an extent, that the success of its stock price and its ability to raise capital, all of those companies were able to be saved by the retail investors who just refused to sell and just had that simple buy hold mentality of, this is a company that we believe in, that we're committed to, um, and just would not be bullied. And it really is a David and Goliath story that I think is going to fundamentally change the way people look at the United States stock market. There's not a lot of good things that can be said about it, but this will certainly be one of those stories that we point to, that are just as crucial as October 8th of 1929. It's like one of those black swan events of financial history, if we can even, you know, call it something like it's that legendary. But it
Mhm.
feels significant to me what retail traders and investors were able to do just by taking a stance and saying, you know what, we are the 99%, we outnumber you, and we will not be bullied anymore. And that's and just seeing the amount of change that it's affected in the financial world, in the political world. Yeah, I mean, um, even Congress has had to acknowledge some things that they would rather never admit to themselves about what's been
Mhm.
going on in the financial markets. So,
Mhm.
um,
I agree.
so what's your next big steps for Zash? Just Zash by itself. Do you have like a 90-day plan, like a tactical and strategic idea of where the company's going to go? Some kind of a roadmap for the future?
Press, and more press. I think that's kind of my main roadmap, because a lot of these, parts of Zash have some really interesting announcements that they just kind of. I feel like, as I'm sniffing my way around and saying, "Hey, what are you working on?" and what is, nice to meet you, and talking to kind of these, the heads of their various projects within Zash. I just feel like there's so many announcements that have just been announced, or they're 95% there and they're just continuing to perfect. So my goal over the next 90 days is press, and more press. Wait for this legal drama to kind of end, and I don't think it'll last much longer. And then finish the merger. I don't know if that's within the 90 days. That depends on the legal stuff. But yeah, press, and more press, and always merger.
That's very good to hear. I know that we're all like just on the edge of our seats over the merger. What's the roadmap to profitability look like for Zash? Because as far as I'm aware, and obviously it's not a publicly traded company, so some of the disclosures are like they're not as granular as full on SEC filings. So, what does the roadmap to profitability look like for Zash going into the future? Like, what kind of revenue are we looking at going into like year over year for the next, I don't know, say 2 to 4 years?
Yeah, I mean, there's, I think already with the current kind of acquisitions that we've done. I mean, this is also tough because, right, like if you do, if and when we merge, or when we do, it's that kind of all these entities will get combined, and it's tough to say. So, I mean, there's like, yeah, I mean, Zash and Vinco to me belong together, and then that kind of changes your outlook of the financial situation over the next 4 years once they combine. So like Zash on its own, I think will do very well, but the point is that it won't be on its own for too much longer.
Yeah, I
So
imagine
exact
so.
answer you're looking for, but
One of the things that we were really looking for was a speculative valuation, because one thing that was promised that was never really delivered was I believe it was Ted that had made this 8K filing on Vinco Ventures while he was still the CEO. Is there was a valuation that was going to come out, and we never got it. It was never released. So it was one of those many failed promises that kind of like led to this whole like, there's no communication and this break of trust with the retail community and all of the major investors, which I know that at this point the Vinco Ventures and Zash uh, leadership are aware that retail investors make up a very large bulk of their
Mhm.
shareholders now. So, is there any valuation? Has that even been done? Is there any figure at all?
There's a figure. I think with some people refer this to me. I think it started as a joke actually about Elon Musk. It was called the EST time, Elon Standard Time. And I think sometimes people say that about me, EST, Eric Standard Time. And that's, I think there is some of a TST. There is a TED Standard Time. So when Ted makes a promise, 99% chance, he's going to fall through on it. In regards to timing, I don't know. I don't know if that's if Ted and also me, and I think also people like Elon Musk. It's people are always. I think people that are optimistic are always maybe a little bit more optimistic with their time schedule. So stuff like evaluation, stuff like this merger, yeah, has it been a little bit taken longer, to say the least? Yeah, but these things will come out, including the valuation. Are you there? Hello?
Yep, I'm still here. Sorry about that.
Where's
The so what does the what do you think that the structure of the company will be post merger after all this after all of this court stuff is all put away, as far as the leadership is concerned, because John, we have a very very strong opinion, I'll put it, about Mr. Colucci and his involvement with BBIG. And I can't speak for everybody, but as far as myself as an investor, I would not feel comfortable with somebody like that still having a board seat. And I expect that Ted and Lisa will continue to operate alongside yourself. But what is the plan post merger for that leadership team?
Wish I could tell you now. You're going to have to wait and see for that when that happens.
I understand. Uh, Sorry, I keep losing my place here. So, with the goal of becoming a new social media giant, what is the Zash plan to engage more people on social media with its customers? You mentioned PR, like a lot of press, but have you thought about hiring full staff social media team, or maybe that's done already?
That's one of the things I'm setting up currently.
Excellent, that's
Period.
fantastic.
I mean, I think press also has to be backed up by not just me on social media, although I wish that could be the case. But yeah, I mean, I like the social media channels are I'll say it nicely, uh, uh, need to be improved. And that's one of the first things I've also been doing is focusing on or not just focusing on, but actually doing actual social media campaigns, people that post daily, because the Motive has pretty fucking excellent content. I mean, there's a lot of good creators on there. I think the algorithm needs to do a better job of showing also those really good and unique creators. But yeah, I mean, that's social media presence, having hardcore, like there's no reason why the Motive shouldn't have 1 million followers on Instagram or on Twitter at least. The user amount is like way fucking more than that, obviously, right? So I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's just like I have no idea why this wasn't done already. But I guess I'm here, and that's why I'm brought in, because that is one of the big things I want to fix for the Motive, for Zash, and for all these projects.
Here to fix problems, kick ass, and chew bubblegum.
Well, yeah, kick ass and chew bubblegum, exactly. And it's just it's just a shame, because it's there's such good stuff there, right? Absolutely amazing stuff there, and it's just a shame that it hasn't been broadcasted up until very soon. That's one of the first things that internally I've been fixing.
That's good to hear. What size of a team are you thinking about, or have you given it that much thought? Is it still kind
I
of
don't
up in
really
there?
necessarily team size, because you could say, oh, a team of 100, but if you have a team of 100 ineffective people, I like to think of a team of, I don't think it has to be too big, to be honest, and it's not going to be too big, and because I just know I've collected a lot of really good social media people over the years, and I just don't think you need like a 100 people, for example, but a core group of really total 10 out of 10 people. That's kind of my goal.
Absolutely. And I agree wholeheartedly because like my mods, I have maybe 10 mods and they're all absolute all-stars and they're the guys who like pull the muscle when it comes to social media and things like that. It's a monumental shift of your ability to get things done when you have the right people in the right place and you don't have to have that staffed army of people who are just constantly trying to push the same message rather than just focus on getting the right people in the right place and having those all stars working and putting out the PR. I've seen it been effective in many businesses, but especially in my own. So firsthand experience, it's a good way to go.
Agreed, 1,000%. I'm, in the very welcoming mods in the speaker channel.
I'm sure we appreciate that. So, I mean, this is kind of a BBIG question, but I'm sure that you take a look at the stock chart every once in a while, and I have to ask you, like, do you feel where it's at is trading appropriately in the market right now?
I think there's I have to be careful. I think personally, from my personal perspective, I don't think that with where it's at currently even touches, where it should be given all the value that it has. And I think that has mainly just been caused by drama and late time schedules, not actual uh, quality of work and quality of assets. So and quality of growth. So I mean that's I think that it's annoying to me because yeah, drama and and again I'm also guilty of this as well of delayed time schedules. I think those are the main two things, and those two things are fixable, right? Like it's when you have great assets and great work and actually a lot of great talent, that's the hard part, and that's the tough part of this is that it has all of that, but then there's some drama and delayed times, and that's on Zash drama free and no more delayed time schedules, or at least do our best on that. And that is my recommendation as a just a personal outsider from BBIG. I think that's how the lawyers would want me to say that.
How the lawyers would want you to say it. I understand what you mean. So, given where it is currently trading at, I know that none of us agree, but has there was some speculation going on about a relationship between BBIG and some of the brokers and market makers that were involved in its stock. And I'm just wondering because Zash, it was publicly stated on the Zash Twitter account that an investigation team had been engaged, and I'm just curious if anything came out of that.
They're still doing the investigation, and so when that investigation comes out, we'll put it out. But I think that uh, I get people's point of view on some of these market makers, and I think some of it is over dramatized. Not all of it, not nearly all of it. But I think I'll wait for the results of that investigation to be posted, because that is BBIG, and that is kind of people talking about in relation to that stock and trading that stock. So I don't know if that's something I could comment on, but I look forward to seeing the results of that investigation, and I'm aware of your reports on all of that. True Demon, I've read all of those. I've sent all of those to Ted and Lisa and to Noble, and all those people. So everybody's aware.
That's good to hear. Uh,
Yeah.
I have a follow up question to this because it's happened several times now that we've caught brokers that have been, shall we say, in a unscrupulous position with how they've been trading companies that they broker and market makers as well have been caught in conflicts of interest. Um, so
This
it's happened
happens
many
in crypto.
times.
I mean, it's I've seen that in crypto. It's like way worse.
Oh
I
yeah, yeah.
mean,
I'm sure you followed the story of the Terra Luna crash and how that came
mhm,
about.
exactly. I mean, it's crypto markets. It's even more unscrupulous because there's a little bit more freedom over there. So I mean,
Well, I
it's
mean, it's totally
I'm very
unregulated.
well aware of how even your own one's own market maker or broker can sometimes act positively or act negatively.
So I guess I have to ask if have you given some thought into making a personal stake in Vinco Ventures? You know, merger or not, the company seems solid to me as far as its book to value is and what its price to earnings ratio is. It's early to tell because obviously Vinco Ventures is a startup by all accounts. It's an emerging growth company, but I mean the thing's trading below $1. Have you considered making a personal investment, not even as the Zash CEO, if you had the ability to just go out and buy stock, would you? Would you? Have you
Yeah, I
given
mean,
some thought to it?
I've been, people talk to me about doing that all the time, and yeah, no, I probably will.
I imagine you must be limited by because of like the merger. You can't engage with that without being in some sort of conflict with the SEC.
Yeah, it's tough, but as long as I'm kept out of the loop on stuff, you can. But it's tough. You just have to be very careful about that.
Yeah, yeah. I find it ironic that the SEC is like always watching the individual traders under a microscope and
Yeah, I mean this happened with Coinbase, right? I mean there was a Coinbase person that was aware of certain announcements and listings on Coinbase, and he would just regularly buy a lot before it happened, right? So whatever date it might be, in regards to the merger, it's I know the progress on it, so it's tough on it's it's tough to do that, and you have to be careful. It's doable, but it's a good amount of work. So there's a part of me that goes, hey, wait till after the merger, and then things become a lot easier.
yeah, I can appreciate that. So probably be thinking about taking a position once the company is merged and Zash is. I guess it would be reverse merged into Vinco Ventures at that point because you said in the Twitter Space call like a month ago now that you weren't planning on changing tickers at all.
Nope, no current plan for any. And again, this is BBIG. Actually, I shouldn't be able to answer. I shouldn't answer that. But I have not. I guess just in general, I have not heard of any plan to change the ticker. But
Okay,
again, that would be someone you should ask at Vinco.
right. Well, I mean, I would normally ask Vinco, except they've ignored every question I've asked. So
I
you
know,
know, it's
I
tough.
know. I'm here for you. I'm here at least, and I guess
It's nice
well,
to have a shoulder to cry on, Eric. I really appreciate that.
I'm working on getting people to come. I'm working on getting Lisa and Ted to come in on these things.
So I think that we've answered most of the questions that we've prepared for, but we're happy to talk with you for as long as you want to spend your time with us. And I know that people in the chat have tons and tons and tons of questions that I haven't even been able to go through yet. So
Yeah,
if
I'll talk
there's
for another 7 minutes. I can talk to the top of the hour.
great. So if anybody in YouTube or in the Discord chat has any questions, feel free to throw them out.
I
There's
see there's an Eric bot. I don't know. Is that a compliment or is that an
it
insult?
actually it actually is. We affectionately created a bot in your likeness just to let us know. Like for instance, Eric bot, could you give us a date on the merger? When merger?
Does it do something like that?
Hello,
Is
I
it
am Eric Bot. The merger schedule is now on or about sometime.
That's funny. That's
Yeah.
funny. It's true. No, I do say a lot. That's in the Eric bot. I go and I it's oh god, I did it again. But that is how I speak. Everybody tells me that. My own family, they go, stop saying all the time. And
Hey,
all that is another thing that I say.
hey,
They
don't worry
they should
about it,
add
man.
that to that. And all that. That's how I talk.
We all have our own little quirks and our little ticks and
I
sayings and
um
stuff. I've got them
um
too.
it comes from, and we'll take some questions. I'll last thing. I think it comes from talking to journalists for so long. Since I was 15, I was on Charlie Rose's show when I was 15. Back when that was a cool thing to say. But you kind of talk in generalities because you're trying to. I got in the habit of talking in generalities and kind of allowing stuff to be more. Because when you're in media, when you're in journalism, you can't be too detailed if you're talking to kind of a general audience, right? Like if I'm at Stanford or something, like I was an astrophysicist. My mom's an astrophysicist. She got her PhD at Stanford in astrophysics. Like she's very
Oh, that's cool.
detail oriented, etc. With that room, but there's I think I picked up some of those habits of talking to a general audience and talking more generally, and I take that to more detail oriented environments.
That's actually really cool. That's quite a field to be that's quite a field to be involved in. Way over my head. I
Hmm.
do look up to guys like Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yes, very smart individual. Although he killed Pluto. So real quick,
Yes,
I'll take
that
two
is one thing that
questions.
we'll all hold against him forever.
Absolutely. Screw
so
that guy.
so
I'll
here's a
take two questions.
so here's an excellent question from the crowd from Shab Ahmed. What is the future plans with Lomotive's platform and a partnership with billionaire Mukesh Ambabi's Viacom 18 media conglomerate? This is one that I'd heard rumblings on and rumors that I think it had been discussed internally. But if you're privy to any of that, has that discussion been ongoing that you're aware of?
Yeah, I can't talk about that.
All right, that's fair
So
enough.
I'll do another. I won't count that as a question.
Okay, that's fair enough. So between AdRiser is still its own separate entity with Mind. What's the name? MindThink. Mind
Oh, there's Magnify You. There's Mind. Was it Mind Tank? What was
Mind
it? Mind
Tank. That's
Tank.
it. Yeah, Mind Tank. That was it. The progress with AdRiser being with Mind Tank is that are they in a position where they're ready to merge all together, like between Lomotif and AdRiser and Mind Tank, all of these things coming together? They're all like their own individual isolated pieces, but I know everybody's really curious because we know that the monetization comes from all of the and Cryptide as well. The real monetization of Zash Global Media and a an if slash when merger of Vinco Ventures, all the money comes in once all these separate entities come together into a unified company with all their own unified products. So, is there any progress there that you can tell us about where Zash has been directly involved?
Uh, so I'll speak generally, I guess, on that. Uh, after this, merger is finished, the goal would be to have a lot more clarity and coherentness into how these businesses are combined, and then also combining a lot of these there's just blatant synergy, obviously between AdRiser and Lemotive, etc. Like, I mean, the goal is to make these sorry, I can't speak too detailed on that, and I don't want to say that, so I'm trying to speak generally. So if it comes out a little not so perfect, my
Hey, that's
apologies.
okay.
If
I at least can appreciate that disclosure all has to come through forms in triplicate. So
Exactly. So
there are many things that I can appreciate, even though the community, and I will ask the community, please be respectful of the fact that not everything that Eric knows can be said. Um, out in the open because things are tied to legal contracts, non-disclosure agreements, and things like that. So we do have to be at least a little bit understanding of that.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, there'll be a lot more, it'll make a lot more sense because there's so much, kind of, I remember when I first heard about, this kind of, I was like, what, there's Vinco Ventures. Okay. There's there's ZVV, there's, Zash, there's Pizzazz, Zaz, I was like, this has got to be a lot more clear, a lot more clear company structure. So, that will come.
Absolutely. I do have one more pertinent question. As when Zash goes forward with this merger, because investors want to be confident that after such a merger, Zash will officially become a public company. So the funding and the cash capital that Zash is currently working with is something that people have been nervous about, and we're not looking for a figure, but just your own feelings as a CEO. How confident do you feel in Zash going forward, with or without a merger? Do you feel that the company is in a very comfortable cash position, such that
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. And then like I'm here to make the merger happen. So it's not kind of merger or not. I get your point. I get the hypothetical. But yeah, I mean 0.0001% chance. You never know. But yeah, I feel very confident in Zash's cash position, and Zash is and at the same time Zash is operating like it will merge with Vinco, right? So I mean that is the plan, and it operates like that's the plan. And if let's say an asteroid hit BBIG headquarters or the Nasdaq headquarters or something like that, and just disappeared from the Earth tomorrow, Zash would do well. Great team of people.
that's absolutely fantastic. So I guess there's one last question to be asked, but I'm going to ask Eric Bot so that you don't have to say it yourself, and we won't hold you to this statement. But hey, Eric Bot, what price is BBIG going to post merger?
Yeah, I definitely can't answer that. Definitely ask
Hello,
Eric Bob.
this is Eric Bot. To infinity and beyond. To the moon.
I like that. I like that. That's not so bad. That's a good bot then.
Good bot, good bot.
Good
Well,
bot.
thank
Well,
you so much, Eric, for taking the time to hang out with us and answer all of our questions. We do really appreciate. We really do appreciate your time, and more than anything, we appreciate how communicative you've been with the community. We hope that you'll keep the conversation open to us, and you know, obviously, there's some of us that are a lot more emotionally invested in the future of Zash and Vinco. So we hope that you'll forgive those individuals. But for the most of us, and at least here in Hell's Trading Floor, we're more than happy to have you back and be a welcoming community for you to communicate, commiserate with, and if we can have this conversation again in the future, perhaps if maybe someday after merger, we'll we'll open this conversation back up to see what the future of Zash and Vinco look like together.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, True Demon. I appreciate it. Always a pleasure, and I always enjoy reading, everything that you're posting. And thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Great. Have a
everybody,
good
for
one.
tuning in. Y'all have a good night, and I will see you on Monday, at which time we will have a hell of a time in the market.